What's going on, my guy?
Oh, so what's crazy is like I love that you and I, man, it's almost like we shouldn't even set an agenda or a script. Like we
Huh,
we can just get together and go.
facts.
But another episode of Bank Shots, the moves and news of the modern day athlete. You're looking and you're talking to two of them, Mr. Mobi Okugo, Forbes 30 under 30. Holla,
What's going on, man?
you know, like
We haven't talked since then, huh? Because I knew we were.
no, we talked.
Okay, I
I
was
give
like,
you a little, I give you a little love, like
I knew he was going to try to do something. I was like, how can we make sure he just kind of
here's
sidesteps that?
what's beautiful is like we both set up these Google alerts,
Yeah.
and I set up one, and like I'm scrolling through, I'm like, I don't care, I don't care. Wait, that's my dude, like.
No, it's
And
going on. It's
now,
going
I
on.
mean, now what's really cool, and this is something you will take forward. It is neat to see the community, the soccer community, start to use it as PR. Like, I got to imagine, you are not only a rising star on the field, but off the field, you are the modern day athlete, being that entrepreneurial mindset. I just continue to want to applaud you in that regard.
Nah, thanks, man. It's great to get recognized, but as you know, still a lot to work to be done. So I'm happy that we have this
Always.
platform where we can highlight athletes that are doing good things with their money, and use current events to help others, not only athletes but individuals, learn about different things when it comes to personal finance, money management, all that. So yeah, let's go.
And we know firsthand education is powerful, action, implication. That is everything. Being a frugal athlete is not just talking about it, it's being about it. So let's start with that concept in mind. We saw this story pop up. I think it's, and I'm going to butcher his name as an NHL fan. If you hate me after this, I'm fine with that. But I'm going to try Mark Messier.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll give him a little French accent. Yeah, we're good.
Little try to, but 15-time All-Star and modern day athlete. As he expands his brand, he is looking at, hey, how can I invest in? He invested in an Alberta cannabis company, Destiny Bioscience, a few years ago. What is really interesting is today, Mark is suing
Hmm.
not the company, not Destiny, but the CEO of the company, because he invested $500,000 in saying that his likeness, name, image, and likeness, topical, his likeness was essential in Destiny raising funds, raising money. And this is the one I want to call out, Amobi, and then I'm going to let you run. Why he is suing is because he had a personal guarantee
That's what I
on
was
his
going to point out.
500.
I was going to point that one out too.
Go.
No, so when I saw the article and we shared it with each other, I was like, all right, Jed, I know Jed's gonna point this out. What does a personal guarantee mean? I didn't see there was written contract. I didn't see anything permanent. So what's a personal guarantee? And something that I talk about is like never trust the gentleman's agreement. Handshake deal. Never trust that. No verbal, because then it could be he said, she said. You never want anything like that. So this personal guarantee, I'm sure the cannabis CEOs, lawyers are going to have a good one with that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like we're grown-ups here. Like this, because and
Yeah.
this is part of what we talked about with you, and this whole venture capital concept and idea. Due diligence is a real thing,
Mhm.
and I continually alert athletes. Our number one failure is trust. Is exactly what you just said. Is this idea that we live in a world where I look you in the eye, I shake your hand, and I say, let's go win this thing. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
In the business world and professional world, that just does not work. And I've come to this realization. I'm having to sit down and interview lawyers as we speak, because I'm realizing I'm entering into conversations I cannot be sitting at a table by myself at anymore.
Mhm.
And it's for these reasons, because if you asked me 2-3 years ago, personal guarantee, if a Moby says, he's got me, I trust him.
Yeah.
Trust, because it is an athlete code, is a target in the financial world, in the professional world. It's really sad to see, but I also wanted to call out, and I love that you started chuckling on the personal guarantee, because anytime somebody guarantees anything, run the other way. The idea of like one of their differentiators, what they established their commonality on and what they're using is they define Destiny's, bioscience, 700 rare strands of cannabinoids. And you're just like, time out. First off, if there's 700 of them, they're not that rare.
Yeah.
And two, that is where your foundation is. And so now they're looking at, and why I called out the identification of CEO versus Destiny, the company, is Destiny, the company, this cannabis company, is in receivership for $40+ million, which means they don't have the money to pay it off. And they are going through a process to pay back their debtors, probably pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So they are going to sell assets, sell everything, and they're going to try to get some of their people their money back. But this idea of selling the dream, selling, and if you read the article, if you understood, it was 8 words describing these rare 700, strains. But this mention of he is now attacking an individual, not the business, because of a personal guarantee. I thought this is quite possibly one of the best modern day athlete bank shots articles we could ask for.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And one lesson I want athletes to take note of, or anyone for that matter, is like when you're an athlete and an agent comes to you, or a high school coach that's trying to recruit you, you hear all the hoopla and blah blah that they try to get you on, like this is going to be the best program for you, this reason, that reason. Athletes, we have like skepticism when it comes to that. We need to apply that same skepticism when it comes to these venture deals. Because, like as we all know, agents will say anything to try to get you. High school coaches, college coaches, professional coaches will say anything. You're our guy, you're in our system. We have to use that same skepticism with our venture deals. And then obviously the amount of money that he invested, never invest any amount that you're not willing to lose when it comes to alternative investments. Because, I don't know about you. I wish I had $500,000 to invest. I wouldn't have invested in cannabis with 700 strands, but you have to think of it like I'm not going to see that money in 5 to 7 years if I'm lucky and it hits. If I'm not going to see it, you got to expect to lose it if you're not doing your due diligence. So
that is a great consideration for athletes, saying, hey, yes, you may have that $500,000 right now, but what if it's gone? Does that significantly alter your plan, alter your future? I think that is a really, really powerful one, which is why I tend to tell athletes the risk is not worth the reward at the moment. Continue with your career, continue making the salary. We'll talk about investments down the road when the picture is a little bit more clear. Talking about somebody who does not have money issues at the moment, who's made plenty and has plenty, Mr. Alex Rodriguez. And I'd love for you to kind of dive in how he's starting to venture outside of or into a new realm.
Yeah, so Alex Rodriguez, obviously a famous baseball player, Hall of Famer, has his own TV show and all that. He's big into real estate. So he has A-Rod Corp, but his latest venture is investing in a hotel real estate fund. Obviously, it's unique in the sense of people aren't traveling right now. So it's an interesting take in like what he's going to do. I think the biggest thing when it comes to A-Rod is understanding, how he's gotten into real estate. It's something that he started when he was a young player in the MLB. And now, he started with single family, multifamily properties, and now he's doing bigger steps and now doing a private equity real estate fund with the hotel management group. And I think the lesson that I want to take away is that, start small. He mentions that he didn't really know anything when he first started. And then now, long after his career is over, he's been able to, build the expertise, build the credibility, build the funds to now get into these bigger deals. So it's really interesting. And I'm excited to see where he goes. He's been trying to do a lot of deals. He tried to get into the Mets deal. It didn't work out, but we'll see how this one goes.
And you're absolutely right. Start small, single family, then you go multi, I don't think any of us are ever going to get up to hotels because that's crazy. But there's tax advantages, there's debt strategies, there are ways to scale up like that, but you got to start. And that is the beautiful thing here. The other call out I wanted to make was in the mindset around this investment. They're going out and buying hotels at a moment in time when hotels as an industry are possibly at their lowest in a long, long time. It is a really neat offering at this time to say, hey, Alex Rodriguez, why are you buying hotels? Well, we're getting them for cheap. That's first and foremost. We're not paying full price. Secondly, debt right now is as low as it will probably ever be in our lifetime. I saw the other day somebody said they locked in a 2.87 30-year mortgage, and it just under 3% for a mortgage blows my mind. So their idea of really maximizing on the leverage at the moment, but also on the asset and the industry being at a pivotal time. The other piece here is he says that they are not just after profits, but they are also going to invest back into the communities around these hotels, which obviously his big passion being Miami. It will be interesting, but it also is just that lesson once more of you have to be bigger than a profit. You have to be bigger than dollars, in a balance sheet. We talked about it with Curry and his new brand coming out with Under Armour. They are out to help coaches and help players who could not play. This notion that in the same article of we're going to buy hotels, we also want to help the community as a personal brand. That is part of the modern day athlete. And I love that correlation.
No, that's what it's all about. And I love how you pointed out about debt, because everyone thinks debt is like, debt, it's a bad thing. But you can use it as leverage if you do it the right way and you understand, a little bit more about finances.
Absolutely. It is a scary and intimidating beast to take on debt for people who do not understand money. And that is the vast majority of people. Most people say, and this, I'm not talking about consumer debt, credit cards right now. That is outlandish and foolish. But most people who you talk to say, hey, I don't want to take on, why do I want a 15-year debt or 15-year mortgage? Or why do I want, this or that? Or why I want to pay down my student loans even faster? I challenge them to understand the opportunity cost of those decisions. One of the great questions young people ask me all the time today is, should I begin investing or should I pay down my debt? And it is a very valid question. I applaud that they are at a crossing points where they are starting to look to use their dollars. But I challenge them in saying, well, what are you comfortable in paying? What are you looking at that student loan even and saying, what's the interest rate? Now you also get a tax advantage for paying down student debt. So why are we paying it down faster? We're going to lose some of that tax advantage. But looking at how those dollars could go to work for you, you are paying compound interest one way or the other. Yeah. It's just, do you want to be paying it to yourself or do you want to be paying it for someone else?
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's, and that's what's really fun about getting into the world that we are venturing into is these are the classes, this is the lessons that we know athletes as well as the common average, I don't want to call them average, but the normal 22, 26-year-old are asking, 30-year-old, 36-year-old. And that is what I loved about our connection years ago as a frugal athlete is out to teach these principles in real life terms. And it's a really neat day and time that I think we're at a place as a country that is going to start to do that.
Exactly.
This next one, talking about financial literacy 101, and I always love to tell people, athletes, we make scary money. And why it's scary and dangerous money is because people only hear one number. Amobi signs, and this is going to bring this to fruition, a $10 million contract. The only thing anybody ever understands or hears is they signed $10 million.
Yeah.
They never play through. They believe gross, and it's gross how often people get confused with the difference between gross and net. They never get to the net.
Words.
You see what I
great play on words.
So Sidney Crosby, the kid, the guy who has dominated and been a story in the NHL for 15 years already, is going to continue. I mean, he's already been two-time Hart Trophy Award MVP, three-time Stanley Cup. He's going to probably go down as, earning the most points in the NHL. The story comes out and says this. Sidney Crosby, first off, this astounded me. A 12-year, $104 million contract. A 12-year contract.
Those hockey contracts are crazy.
And like to be the best in the business and to just be like, $10 million a year, that sounds pretty good. Like what? And I think that's just part of like the hockey mindset is like, how much more do you really need?
Mm-hmm.
You don't, but it's cool to see it. And that contract comes out. I think he signed it in 2012, so it will finish in 2024. So he's still got a few years left on it. But this year he is due to make $9.6 million. I'm a little geeky and people don't really get that, but I love numbers. So $9.6 million. He's got to defer instantly 13%. The NHL is asking them to defer instantly 13% of their contract. 20% is going to go into an escrow account because of the coronavirus, because of so much uncertainty. We got to have this money, this cash available that players are forced. So now that's 33%. Talk about an outlandish number. 10% is going to his agent.
That's wild.
Wild.
Yeah.
His agent is making $1 million this year on a contract he negotiated 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That
we need to have
mind.
A whole case study on that.
On just that alone. How does that happen?
Yeah.
So then you see, all right, then we get to the traditional 35% is an effective tax rate. I also have a great little analogy on effective versus marginal tax rates. So, and then again, federal 35, Pennsylvania is going to take 3%. Pittsburgh is going to take 3%. And all of a sudden you look at somebody who says, I was going to make $9.6 million this year. I'm walking away with 3.4, which is still a lot of money. That was a lot of numbers. What is your reactions to those?
That is a great dissection of how you talked about when it comes to, wow, he signed a $10 million contract. He's
dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous. So now, because it's not only the people that see that contract, it's the athlete as well. So it's, I signed $10 million. Now, all right, let me buy a house worth this much. Let me get a car with this much. Let me get this. Let me take care of my family. Let me do this. And it's like, whoa. Slow down. I am not making that much money. Let me base my proportion based on what I'm netting. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Let me make sure I have an emergency fund in case a pandemic happens. Let me make sure my investment strategy is set up so I can make money on the money I'm making. Let me make sure my debts are cleared so I understand. So I think when we see that contract, when we sign that contract, it's so hard to think. It's like, I signed a 10-year, I'm good. Until 2024, I'm going to make it back. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But in reality, no, that 10 million is actually, in this particular situation, is 3.2, I believe you said, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you look at it and people are like, well, he's still walking away with 3 million.
Yeah.
Like, Moby, what are you worried about? This is how I frame it, because everything, and this was one of the biggest shifts in mindset I had around money. As I got into my CFP, as I got into wealth management, I stopped measuring, and this is going to be significant. I stopped measuring money in returns, how much you made or how much you had, blah, blah, blah. I started measuring money in how many years I don't have to worry about money. And as I look at that example, $10 million, if I spent an ungodly amount of money at $500,000, that's still 20 years of money protected right there. 10 million.
1 second.
Go ahead. I'll keep going. So if I look at 10 million, that's 20 years. I all of a sudden come down to 3.5. Now I'm only at 7 years. So I went from 20 years of protection down to 7 years of protection. All of a sudden, if I retire at 35, I'm out of money at 42 and not 55.
55.
That is significant. And so that is one of the things I love for people to take away is why it's scary money, why it's dangerous money, is people get blinded by the headlines. They don't understand the reality, and they don't understand the years it is supposed to represent. I again, being a little, geeky on the number side, I thought that was, and I think it's going to be a very interesting thing to visualize in just percentage, gone. I thought that was a really, really good example of one, how the coronavirus is impacting sports, contracts, the world, and everything today, but also that a prime example of dangerous headlines. 9.6 million. If he was spending, and I think it was Akon. I saw a piece of content the other day. The singer, hip hop rapper. He said he has a 10% rule where he never buys anything unless it's 10% of what he has in the bank. So if it's $100,000 car, he's got to have $1 million. If it's $1 million house, he's got to have 10 million. And I thought that was like, one, it's kind of extreme, but it was just a really clean way to look at things. I thought it was a really neat way to see it.
Yeah, that's that's pretty cool.
Okay, Akon, you see
that? Okay, Akon. That was interesting. I was like, all right. I know. I like that breakdown. Yeah, it's not bad.
Then I was like, well, how much is your house, bro?
Yeah.
I want to know what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's it's the end of the year. It's mid-December. 2020 is going to be a year we all hope to quickly forget. But this was a year of chaos. And Sun Tzu said it best. Amidst the chaos, there's also opportunity. So one, I want to just know, Amobi, you had a great recognition a week or two ago. What do you feel about 2020 personally, financially, professionally? And, kind of just give it a summary of what you're thinking.
Yeah, so we still haven't decided if this is going to be our last episode of the year, but let's talk about 2020. In retrospect, I'm very happy that my family, my immediate family, no one's been affected, with everything that's going on. Everyone's staying healthy, and hope for anyone that's listening that they have good health as well. So that's the first and foremost thing. From a frugal athlete perspective, we did a lot of great things. Still not where we want to be, but this has been a year where we've set the foundation, built valuable credibility across the board. Mm-hmm. And we feel like we are primed to continue to make waves in 2021. Financially, just lessons learned or lessons that I've known or lessons that we've stressed have just been kind of emphasized more, always be prepared for a rainy day. Always make sure that you're thinking long term when it comes to your investments. Making sure that you're thinking differently from an expenses standpoint. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned this year is that there's a lot of things that we spend money on or that we have that we really do not need. So it's been good to kind of declutter. I'm pretty much a minimalist already, but there's things that I'm like, why did I buy this in the past? Or do I really need this? So being able to have that and really kind of break down essentials versus not essentials versus, where I see, my financial portfolio and playbook looking in the future. So what about you, man?
I mean, I think that's a great, and I that was not on my list, but I think that's a great takeaway of measuring this year and really defining what is that essential spend? What are the things that are truly going to still bring us happiness? And what were we wasting time and money on? I think this year taught us, the real perspective of everybody wants to be that $50 million person. And it's what's the difference between $1 million, 5 million, and 50 million? When you're forced to, spend your time at home with the ones you love, nothing. Mm-hmm. And it's a really interesting and a concept we throw around a lot is your home is your greatest asset. I disagree with that on a financial terminologies, but I 100% agree with it on a balance sheet of life. Why? Because we just saw the last year and we were saying, hey, I'm forced to be in one place. I'm forced to be around these people. My home is now my greatest asset because it is where I invest the most important thing I have, which is my time. Mm-hmm. So I loved that. As I look at 2020, January 1st, not so long ago, is when I launched my business. I jumped out of wealth management, the traditional advisor role. I created what I would call a new money vehicle in, being an owner of my own business, very similar to you. It's a brand. And it has a mission and a purpose. So I look at this year and I say, some of the best things I've done 100% is continue to build my relationship and my collaborative spirit with you, because I think we're on a path that is going to lead to big places. And I could not be more proud to have published a book, started a podcast, launched a course, but really just jumped into this atmosphere of like scared out of my mind, not knowing which way's up, down, left or right, and yet enjoying the entrepreneurial roller coaster. So it's been a crazy kind of go, but as I look at year end, amidst the chaos, there was amazing opportunity. I'm ending 2020 with more clarity than I could have ever imagined.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah, it's been great to see your growth from, starting out to, how do I do a podcast? Which app's the best to like now you have like 100,000 followers on TikTok and stuff. So it's amazing to see how quickly and how big of a presence you can have if you go head first and create impact first and foremost.
And continue, and anyone who hears this and wants to walk away, and then we're going to give you a quick 5 numbers to end your year on. But what Amobi just said was go head first. It is scary, but you ultimately ask yourself, will I wake up in fear failing, or will I wake up in fear regretting never have tried? And if you lean into that second window, jump and challenge. So as we look at this money lesson to wrap up the year, I love to define it in 5 numbers. And this can be for a 18-year-old, a 28, a 58-year-old. Number 1 is what came in. Looking at the year, what came in? Where did it come from? Did you create a new stream? Can you create a new stream? Did you identify the income? Number 2, end of the year is a very easy time to look at what's going out the door. Always needing to know what is our ballpark burn rate. Number 3 is time. We just went through a year of time looking at my portfolio. How much time have I protected? How much time do I have before I'm walking away? Time is a measurable and a great asset. Number 4 is score. What is my credit score? Very little explanation need there. And number 5, perhaps the most important, is what is that goal? Looking at the new year, starting to set that goal of what you feel like will be success. I love that list. I'm a big journaler, as you know. So I get to look at like my past years. I also have like faith, family, football, finances, fun, but we need to categorize.
I had to write that down. I love that. The 5 money lessons.
Well, we got it recorded. So if you ever want to watch it back.
Respect.
But brother, another episode. Could not appreciate you more.
Thanks, Shots. Yep.
Thanks, Shots. News and Moves, Modern Day Athlete. We will catch you, if not next week, next year.
Enjoy.